I've got a crush on my bestie's uncle. I heard he's got broad shoulders and a narrow waist, a perfect body, but he's a man of few words, totally ascetic and uninterested in women. During my sophomore year break, I went to visit my best friend's hometown, and she asked her uncle to pick me up from the airport. The man thought he was picking up a little kid and had my name announced over the PA system. "Attention, little Tia, your uncle is waiting for you at the information desk. Please do not talk to strangers." I ran over, my face beet red. When he saw me, he froze for a second, his attitude distant. But later that night, he held me in his arms, and the space between us went negative. My best friend was at a family reunion and video called me to complain. But my eyes were uncontrollably drawn to a man in the corner. Broad shoulders, narrow waist. His dark suit jacket was casually draped nearby. He wasn't wearing a tie, and his sleeves were rolled up, revealing muscular forearms with veins faintly visible. He was handsome with a touch of coldness, giving off an indescribable sex appeal. A strong nose and thin lips. A total catch. My gaze couldn't help but drift down, until I felt a warm trickle from my nose. "Tia, your nose is bleeding." My bestie suddenly shrieked through the phone. Her voice was so loud it caught the attention of several people. At that moment, I was in my yellow cartoon pajamas with my hair in a messy bun, holding a watermelon and munching on it while chatting with her. From the corner, it seemed like the man glanced over. Thank God I wasn't there. It was just a video call. They couldn't see my embarrassing state, or I would have died of humiliation. My friend was still asking if I was okay. I wiped away the blood. "I'm fine," I said with a goofy grin. "I think I'm in love." My bestie's eyes shot wide open. "You're finally interested in someone. You're dating. When? How did I not know?" I smirked, lowering my voice. "No, Ronnie. I'm into the guy in the corner, diagonally behind you." On my end of the video, I pointed carefully. The tallest, most handsome one. Ronnie followed my finger and looked back, her eyes getting even wider. "My uncle? You're into my uncle? Your uncle?" Ronnie nodded. "Yeah, that's my uncle. He's definitely hot, but Tia, if you want to date him, it's going to be mission impossible." Hearing her words, my heart sank. He was her uncle? I thought he was our age, a senior in college at most. His face didn't give away his real age at all. "How much older is your uncle than you?" 6 years. My eyes lit up. 6 years. That doesn't sound so bad. Why is he so hard to get? I asked, not ready to give up. Ronnie counted on her fingers. He's famously aloof, reserved, and celibate. He's incredibly self-disciplined, a hardcore guy who stays completely rational no matter what. Even though he's only a few years older than me, I've been terrified of him since we were kids. As far as I know, dating isn't even an option in my uncle's world. He's 26 and I've never seen him on a single date. He spent all of college in a lab, and right after graduating, he took over the family business. It's only been a few years, and he's already #1 in the industry. Ronnie pleaded, "Tia, my uncle is a hot commodity. Dozens, maybe even 100 girls have tried to get with him over the years. But they all struck out, couldn't even get close to him. Tia, are you sure you want to go for it?" I never imagined this man could be so exceptional. After what Ronnie said, I felt like the gap between us was more than just a little bit. A chasm of age and experience. How could little old me ever hope to cross it? I consciously gave up the idea of pursuing him. But after that day, it was like I was possessed. For a whole week, I had those kinds of dreams, and he was the star of every single one. This had never happened to me before. It was my first rodeo. I couldn't get his face out of my head. In the middle of the night, I got up, opened my laptop, and searched for official information on him. Hendry, CEO of H Corp, 26 years old, 6 feet 2 inches, single. Hendry. I murmured his name without thinking. His name sounded nice. Looking at his formal corporate headshot, I couldn't resist. I opened my chat with Ronnie. Ronnie. I can't forget your uncle's handsome face. What do I do? I couldn't help it, I'm just a normal woman who appreciates a good-looking guy. To my surprise, Ronnie was awake and replied instantly. Well, what do you want to do? You could come visit my hometown, and I'll get my uncle drunk and deliver him to your bed? Me, get him drunk? Ronnie, yeah. Don't let his face fool you, he looks like he can drink, but he's a total lightweight. One drink and he's out. I thought about this plan in my head. A trip to Ronnie's place. It was break anyway, so it was doable. I quickly messaged back, okay, I'll come visit. But. Ronnie, but what? Me, but I don't want to just sleep with him, I want to win him over. Ronnie, I'm going to pursue your uncle. Ronnie, holy crap, are you serious? Yep. Ronnie didn't reply for a long time, as if she was making a momentous decision. All right. That's my girl, always aiming for a challenge. No matter how hard my uncle is to get, I'll use every trick in the book to make you two fall in love. Me, touched, crying, clinging to her leg. After getting the full scoop on Henry's personality and preferences from Ronnie, I finally boarded a plane to J City. At the same time, Ronnie was busy flying to another city. Using the excuse that she was out of town, she begged Henry for ages to pick me up from the airport and look after me for a while. Ronnie wanted to maintain an air of mystery, so she intentionally only told Henry my name. She repeatedly emphasized that he had to take good care of me and take me with him wherever he went, or I'd get lost. So, Henry assumed he was picking up a little kid. The plane landed, and Henry couldn't get through to my phone. A moment later, as I was pushing my luggage cart, I heard my name over the PA system. Attention, little Tia, your uncle is waiting for you at the information desk. Please do not talk to strangers. It was broadcasted again. Attention, little Tia, your uncle is waiting for you at the information desk. Please do not talk to strangers. I wanted to die of social anxiety. Blushing furiously, I rushed toward the information desk with my cart. As I got closer, I slowed down, stopping to catch my breath. My gaze fell on that tall, handsome back. At the desk, Henry stood casually, his fingers tapping lightly on the countertop, exuding an air that was half languid, half intimidating. He wasn't in a suit today, but in casual clothes instead. Henry had a perfect physique, so he looked good in anything. Like a breathtaking painting. Many girls around were secretly stealing glances at him. But his powerful aura kept anyone from daring to approach. Since I didn't know Henry yet, I struggled with what to call him. Should I call him what Ronnie does? After some hesitation, I finally managed to say it. Uncle. Henry heard me and looked down. His eyes landed on me, and he froze for a split second. Then, he stood up straight and pointed to the still broadcasting PA system. His pleasant voice rang out, sorry about that. I didn't realize you weren't a child. The tips of my ears turned red as I shook my head and said it was fine. Henry took my suitcase and extended a hand to me, introducing himself. Hi, I'm Henry. I had already repeated that name to myself countless times on the way here. My gaze involuntarily fell on his hand. It was well defined, with long, elegant fingers and neatly trimmed nails. I hesitated before reaching out my hand. As our fingertips touched, I quietly said, I know. Looking up to meet his eyes, I nervously greeted him. My name is Tia. It's nice to meet you, Uncle. Thank you for looking after me during my stay. Henry's eyes were dark. I wasn't sure if it was my imagination, but after I finished my greeting, his eyes seemed to dim for a moment before returning to normal. It happened so fast, I didn't get a clear look. But his attitude became distant, and his voice turned a bit cold. You're welcome. Still, the warmth from his palm sent a jolt through me. Henry was a complete gentleman. After he took my luggage, I didn't have to lift a finger. In the car, I sat obediently in the passenger seat. Because it was our first time meeting, I was so excited. Henry had the presence of a power player. His aura was so strong that when I talked to him, my palms would get sweaty with nerves. But the face from my dreams was right next to me. I fiddled with my seatbelt, unable to resist stealing glances at him. Henry held the steering wheel with one hand, his eyes fixed on the road ahead, seemingly unaware of my small movements. When we passed by landmarks, he would take the initiative to tell me about them. He'd share their stories. History seemed to become more interesting coming from his lips. The more I listened, the more I found this man charming. An indescribable, mature charm. Henry's voice was very pleasant, clear and clean, and soothing to listen to, making you want to relax. Gradually, I started talking more, the initial awkwardness long gone. I even started poking his arm to ask questions. "Uncle, look, what's that? Is that also a landmark of J City? It's so pretty. And it's right in the city center, it looks like a fun place." "Wow, that one too." When I got no answer, "Uncle, why aren't you?" I turned my head in confusion, only to meet Henry's handsome eyes. A smile he hadn't quite managed to hide lingered in them. My voice trailed off, the tips of my ears burning. "Why aren't you answering me?" Henry chuckled softly. "Tia's finally not nervous anymore, is she?" He had noticed my anxiety and was subtly helping me dissolve it. My heart fluttered. Damn, is this the charm of a mature man? And he called me Tia. Realizing this, I couldn't stop the corners of my mouth from turning up. A ripple in my heart seemed to be gradually expanding. Henry wasn't as cold as everyone said. The car pulled into the driveway of a beautiful villa. Henry got my luggage out. I followed him inside, where he took out a pair of women's lemon yellow slippers. My eyes lit up. "That's my favorite color." Henry instinctively bent down to help me put them on, but I blushed. "Uncle, I can do it myself." I was screaming on the inside. He's being too nice. Is this first-class service? I put them on. Holy crap. They were exactly my size. My size and my favorite color, they couldn't have been bought just for me, right? The thought had barely crossed my mind before I dismissed it. No way. Of course not. If he knew about me, he wouldn't have thought he was picking up a kid at the airport. So, these slippers in his house were for another woman. Ronnie's intel was wrong. Realizing this, my previously cheerful mood plummeted. I have a rival. And this rival must be pretty important to Henry. Henry led me upstairs to a room. He opened the door, and the decor inside was clearly designed for a girl. Toothbrush, toothpaste, everything was there. Even the bath towel was new and had already been washed. Everything was prepared so thoughtfully and warmly. Henry leaned against the doorframe. "You can stay here for now. My room is to the left, and the study is to the right of this room. If you need anything, you can come find me even if I'm working." He thought I'd be happy, but he had no idea my head was hanging even lower than before. Who said Henry was reserved and uninterested in women? This room was prepared so meticulously. It must have been for that other girl. Henry had noticed my mood change earlier, but he didn't know why it had gotten worse. He reached out to touch my forehead. "What's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Or was I driving a bit too fast and you're carsick?" My voice was muffled as I took a step back. "Maybe I'm a little carsick." Henry's hand froze in mid-air before dropping to his side. Honestly, the moment I said it, I regretted it. "Tia, what are you doing? You can't even control your emotions, how rude. You want to leave a bad impression on your first day with him?" I wanted to explain but didn't know what to say. In a panic, I blurted out, "Thank you for picking me up today, you must be tired." I tried to force a nice smile, but it came out incredibly stiff. "Thank you, because of you, the 4 seasons are warm. Thank you, because of you." My hands started moving in a cringy, reflexive dance as Henry just stared at me. I shut my mouth in embarrassment. I wanted to slap myself. You idiot, what's with the deadpan humor? Now it's even more awkward. He must think I'm a total weirdo. I deflated. Okay, uncle, I'm just carsick. But don't worry, I'll be fine in a bit. I'll just rest by myself. I thought I had hidden my feelings perfectly, but I was full of holes. As I was about to close the door, a flash of helplessness crossed Henry's dark eyes. The man who was always so sure of himself now seemed to be struggling with how to handle my mood. His voice was very soft. Okay, you get some rest. Call me if you need anything. I won't disturb you. With that, he helped me close the door. Was it my imagination, or did Henry look a little pitiful from behind? My parents are both teachers, and from middle school through high school, I was always in a class taught by either my mom or my dad. I grew up under strict rules, raised with countless regulations. So, during my teenage years, I never had a crush on anyone. Back then, I even thought puppy love was a serious offense. It wasn't until I left my parents that I realized the world outside wasn't so scary. The desires hidden deep inside me grew wild and untamed. Once I got to college, based on the number of guys who hit on me, I figured I wasn't ugly. But this was the first time I had ever been so interested in a man. After a night of feeling down, I quickly bounced back. Come on, so what if the room was prepared for another girl? I'm the one staying in it now. We're under the same roof. A high-quality man like him? I'm the one who's winning here. Thinking about Henry's amazing body that even clothes couldn't hide, I couldn't sleep. I spent the whole night guessing his measurements. I went through all the numbers, but his online bio had no details. Living together right after we met, isn't this just a test for me? Henry is single, successful, and so handsome. Rich and good-looking. It would be weird if I didn't have a rival. The time, the place, with such an advantageous environment, I should make the most of it. Why was I wasting time being sad and worried? So, the next day, I was full of energy. Seeing that my mood had lifted, Henry seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. But his eyes had dark circles under them. Did he not sleep well? Or was he working late? In the following days, Henry cleared his schedule to show me all around J City. A big shot CEO, spending all his time just with me. He must have been incredibly busy, but he never showed it in front of me. The only clue was the light in his study staying on late into the night. For every outing, Henry arranged everything perfectly. All I had to do was follow him without a single thought. After spending more time with him, I discovered that the man who seemed so unapproachable on the outside was actually very thoughtful and detail-oriented. Henry would remember the foods I liked after just one time. My hobbies, my taste in music, he always managed to observe them. Henry took me to an auction, and he could instantly guess which items I was interested in. He'd raise his paddle and bid without blinking an eye. The next day, those things would appear in my room. I'd turn around, overjoyed. Uncle, are all these for me? Henry would just lean against the doorframe, a slight smile on his lips. I had a feeling you'd like them. At high society parties, where I felt out of place, Henry would automatically pull me into his circle. While talking with others, his eyes would follow me. He told me that getting to know the people at these events would help me after graduation. Thanks to him, I navigated the party with ease, seizing many opportunities. Being with Henry was so comfortable. Because I wanted to look good, I insisted on wearing high heels when we went out. Henry never tried to talk me out of it. But whenever I couldn't stand it anymore and my feet started to hurt, he would crouch down, pull a pair of sneakers out of his backpack, and help me change. I never knew when he had prepared them. I sat on a park bench while Henry bent down to check if my ankle was swollen, then gently flicked my forehead with his finger. Next time you want to wear heels, how about we just wear them for photos? Okay? His tone was suggestive, his manners impeccable. I could no longer tell if this was special treatment just for me or simply his good upbringing, a favor for a friend. All I knew was that the moment our eyes met, my heart could no longer control its rhythm. Thump, thump, thump. A current ran through my body. I think I had really fallen for Henry. Now that I was sure of my feelings, I wanted to know even more about Henry. I heard that H Corp was famous in J City, so I wanted to see where he worked. Conveniently, Henry could also catch up on his piled-up paperwork. This allowed me to see another side of him. The Henry that Ronnie described, strict with his subordinates, yet able to handle any problem with ease. This version of him was bold yet rational. What I found strange was that on the day I visited his company, a lot of business tycoons came to H Corp, one batch after another. They all seemed to have business to discuss with Henry. And I just sat on the side, obediently eating the small cakes Henry had bought for me. They seemed to have a good relationship with Henry. But I don't know if it was my imagination, even though they were all talking to Henry about the national economy, I felt their eyes kept drifting over to me. When our eyes met, they would quickly look away in a fluster. When they left, they would come over with a kind expression and greet me as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "You must be Ronnie's good friend, right? Such a cute young lady." Then, each one would give me a big red envelope of cash. I didn't dare to take them, but they insisted on stuffing them into my arms. "Go have some fun with this. Is this some unique custom in J City?" In just one day, I had received nearly 7 figures in cash. But it was also on this day that I met my so-called rival. A very beautiful woman. I should probably call her ma'am. She was Henry's college classmate and also his right-hand woman. Perhaps it was a woman's intuition, but the first time I saw her, I knew she liked Henry. She was brilliant. They had worked side by side for years, and they were on the same wavelength about many things. From any angle, I couldn't compare to her. But I never expected her to approach me alone. Dressed in professional attire, she was waiting for me by the restroom. "Tia, could I have a word with you?" I washed my hands and followed her to a corner. "Go ahead." She smiled politely. "I've heard that Henry has had a young lady by his side recently. Seeing you today, you are indeed very young and beautiful." I looked her straight in the eye. "Thanks for the compliment, but you can just say what you want to say." She paused for a moment, then got straight to the point. "Tia, you've seen for yourself. Henry is very busy, he doesn't have time to play around with you all the time. Although you're Ronnie's best friend, there's still a generational gap between you and Henry. He has his own things to do." I listened quietly. Although she still had a smile on her face, her eyes had turned a little colder. If Tia continues to cling to Henry under the pretext of traveling in J City, it will cause him a lot of trouble. The woman had a powerful aura, a kind of presence I didn't possess. Finally, in a declarative tone that seemed to pronounce my fate, she said, "Tia, you and Henry are not a good match." She had seen through my little crush and was here to make me recognize my place. I looked at her, then suddenly tilted my head and gave a playful smile. "What's wrong? Feeling a little insecure now that you see someone younger and prettier? Scared now that he's spending all his time with me? Are you like an ant on a hot pan, feeling the heat now that he's with me all day?" She clearly hadn't expected me to say that, and the expression on her face almost broke. In her eyes, I was just a naive little girl who didn't know anything. Upon meeting her, I should have immediately recognized the gap between us and developed an inferiority complex. Then, with a few well-chosen words from her, I'd be crushed, retreat, and stay away from Henry. Not a chance. Besides being pretty, I've been exceptional since I was a kid. I'm Tia, and insecure isn't in my vocabulary. I dropped the smile and looked at the woman calmly. "Assistant Lin, you're right. I haven't seen the world that you've seen. In terms of experience and status, I know perfectly well how big the gap is between me and Henry. But none of that is a reason for me to feel insecure. At my age, my ambition should be bigger than the sky. A crush is a crush. Whether Henry and I are a good match or not isn't for you to say. You don't have the right, and you certainly don't have the standing. Henry has his own mouth to speak for himself." After I finished, I smiled as if I hadn't noticed how ugly her face had become. If there's nothing else, Linda, I'll be going now. I walked away with my back straight. The moment I rounded the corner, I immediately leaned against the wall, frantically patting my chest and letting out a long sigh of relief. Oh my God, I was so cool just now. Damn, I'm good with my words. But, even though I can talk a big game, I'm actually a total coward. Henry doesn't even know I like him yet. I haven't dared to show a single sign. No, I need to step up my game. I can't let someone else get to him first. This window of opportunity has to be broken through sooner or later. Assistant Lynn never expected that instead of being discouraged by her, I'd become even bolder. I needed the right opportunity to lay my cards on the table with Henry, and hopefully, make him fall for me in the process. My little brain schemed, and then a flash of inspiration. Drinking. I haven't had a drink with Henry yet. Ronnie said he's a one-drink wonder. If we drink, and he's tipsy, and I diligently take care of him all night. The next morning, Henry opens his eyes to see me, holding a washcloth, having fallen asleep by his bed. At that moment, with the morning sun shining on my face, Henry would have to feel at least a little something, right? My execution is always on point. I went to the supermarket immediately. But holding the basket, looking at the dazzling array of alcohol on the shelves, I hesitated. Because my parents were so strict, I'd never had a drink and had no idea what my tolerance was. I picked at my fingers, trying to figure out which wine would allow me to stay perfectly sober while getting Henry completely wasted. But with no experience, I thought for a long time and came up with nothing. Screw it. No matter how bad my tolerance is, it can't possibly be worse than Henry's, right? He's a one and done kind of guy. With that thought, I happily started buying alcohol. This one, I'll take a bottle. And this one too. When Henry got home, the table was already covered with bottles of alcohol. Henry froze. Tia, you. I eagerly patted the seat next to me, making a thumping sound. Uncle, come on, sit. I'm treating you to a drink to express my sincere gratitude for these past few days. I poured Henry a glass of high-proof liquor and a glass of low-proof fruit wine for myself. He took a sip, I took a sip, and then I'd say thank you. My eyes sparkled. So, Uncle, are you drunk yet? Henry shook his head. I'm okay. I grabbed the bottle. All right, more it is. Henry drank again, and I grinned. How about now, Uncle? Drunk yet? Feeling dizzy? My intentions were so obvious that Henry couldn't help but find it amusing. Tia, I'm not drunk yet. My brow furrowed. Why wasn't he drunk? It's been several glasses. Was Ronnie's intel wrong again? Whatever, I poured another. I watched Henry finish it. Uncle, are you dizzy now? Henry shook his head. I picked up the bottle to pour more, but as I clutched my head, the world suddenly started spinning. My face was as red as a monkey's butt. I looked pitifully at him. This isn't right, Uncle. Your head isn't spinning, so why am I feeling a little dizzy? Henry's eyes curved into a smile, finding the situation quite funny. He propped his chin on his hand and watched me. Because you're drunk. I shook my head hard, trying to sober up. I tugged on the corner of Henry's shirt. No, I can't be drunk. Uncle, you're not even drunk yet. How can I be drunk? I shot up from my seat, pouting. My plan hasn't even started, I can't be drunk. Henry's lips curled into a smile. He reached out and took my wrist, his voice patient. Slow down, don't fall. His gaze fell on my lips, and his eyes darkened. Henry pressed his lips together, hesitated before reaching out, and gently wiped my lips, finally giving my cheek a little pinch. His tone was unbelievably gentle. You're drunk. Let me help you back to your room to rest, okay? Seeing that Henry wasn't drunk at all, I started to feel wronged, and tears began to fall one by one. I swear, I'm not a crybaby, but maybe it was the alcohol. I sat on the carpet and started throwing a tantrum. No, I don't want to rest. I pointed at Henry's face. Liar, you're a total liar. You said you were a lightweight, a one-drink wonder, right? But you're not drunk at all. Henry didn't get angry. He just crouched down, his eyes focused on me, his voice a little low. It was as if he was talking to me, but also to himself. Tia's right. I'm a big liar. He was so close I could smell the pleasant scent on him, a scent that was uniquely his. I reached out and touched his eyebrows, his nose, his lips. My hand slid down and touched his Adam's apple. At my touch, his Adam's apple bobbed. Suddenly, my hand was caught. Henry's voice was a bit hoarse. That's enough, Tia. If you keep touching me, things are going to happen. The tips of his ears were red. My gaze shifted downward, and I saw his reaction. I swallowed hard, shook his hand off, and straddled his lap. Henry's body instantly went rigid. I grabbed his collar with both hands. If you won't let me touch you, then I'll just kiss you. I had never actually kissed anyone before. All I could do was clumsily nibble on Henry's lips. But Henry's blush spread from his neck all the way to the tips of his ears. His hands were clenched tightly at his sides, unsure of what to do. The more I kissed him, the more I got into it. When I felt something hard pressing against me, I instinctively moved, sitting closer. As we pressed against each other through the fabric, I trembled. This is... Henry quickly steadied me. Unlike his usual cool demeanor, he now looked like a bullied puppy. He was panting, unable to look at me, his voice a little panicked. Tia, you're drunk, don't do this. I tilted my head. Why? Henry dug his nails into his palm. You're not in your right mind. This isn't fair to you. My head was spinning. Even though Henry was clearly at his limit, he was still trying to push me away. His eyes were red, and so were his ears. The scene overlapped with my dreams, making it hard for me to distinguish between fantasy and reality. I shook my head. Am I dreaming again? If this is my dream, then I can do whatever I want. I'm the one in charge of this world. How dare Henry resist? Slightly annoyed, I tilted my head back and kissed him again. My hands restlessly started to unbutton his shirt. Henry grabbed my misbehaving hands again, this time with a bit of force. His tone was sharper too. Tia, look clearly. Do you know who I am? I wasn't angry. My eyes curved into a smile as I kissed the tip of his nose. Uncle, you're my uncle. At that moment, a string in Henry's mind snapped. He seemed to have reached the absolute limit of his patience, unable to hide his desire any longer. He reached out and cupped the back of my neck, his voice husky. Say my name, Tia. Say my name. I was incredibly obedient now. I whispered softly in his ear, word by word, then. Henry's eyelashes trembled. The hand on my neck tightened, and he initiated a kiss. It was a chaotic night. Henry's stamina was incredible. Just when I thought it was finally over, he'd kiss my eyes and start all over again. God, how long has this man been holding back? I lost count of how many times. I was so exhausted I fell asleep. In a daze, I felt someone cleaning my body. When I was carried back to the sofa, I felt someone kneeling on the floor, devotedly kissing my fingertips with the utmost gentleness. A voice sighed in my ear, Tia, what am I going to do? I think I'm really going crazy. When I woke up again, it was already bright daylight. I was completely baffled. Why was I sleeping on the sofa? I was even changed into clean pajamas. Then I looked down and saw Henry sitting on the floor, asleep with his head resting near my feet. His hair unconsciously brushed against my foot, tickling me. He was wearing a simple white t-shirt. The sunlight hit his face, softening his sharp, handsome features. Wait, this scene, why is it so familiar? It was rare to see this side of Henry. Usually, his aura was so intense you wouldn't dare get close. Right now, he was so docile, surprisingly obedient. Before long, I was mesmerized again. Noticing his neck, my heart skipped a beat. Did I make all those hickeys? The moment I tried to move, I couldn't help but hiss in pain. My body felt like it had been run over by a truck. Even if I was a total idiot, I knew what had happened. Oh my God, I got drunk and slept with Henry. I clearly remember it being a dream. How did it become real? I'm so screwed. So screwed. The thought of Henry's usual serious and proper demeanor terrified me. But what could I do? He didn't even know I liked him, and I took his virginity. Forget about him liking me, getting kicked out would be the least of my worries. Will he hate me? He must hate me. I did something so out of line. Images of Henry's rejection from last night flashed through my mind, pitiful and helpless. I couldn't remember anything else. Wait, he's not going to get a lawyer and sue me, is he? I forced myself on him, and in the end, I was the one who got off. Will I go to jail? The more I thought about it, the more scared I became. In a panic, I fled. That's right, I ran away. When Henry woke up, all traces of me in the house had been wiped clean. All he saw was a note I left on the table. Thank you for taking care of me during this time, Uncle. Something came up at home, so I had to leave. I'm sorry about last night. I hope you won't take it to heart. Don't worry about me. Tia. His eyes went completely gray. I never saw Henry again. After that one wild night, we truly had no more contact. To say I wasn't heartbroken would be a lie. But after doing something so terrible, it would be hard not to be hated, right? It wasn't until the start of my junior year that I met up with my bestie in our dorm room. She seemed hesitant to speak. Tia, you and my uncle. Before she could finish, I broke out in a cold sweat from guilt. I quickly raised my hand and swore, it's true, your uncle and I are not a good match. In every aspect, the gap between us is huge. So, I think it's better for me to give up. Seeing I was determined, my bestie didn't say any more. Time passed uneventfully. Just when I thought that spark of attraction had almost faded, someone made a massive donation to the university to upgrade the lab equipment. The school immediately invited the tycoon for a campus tour. On the day he arrived, the school leadership showed him around several labs. One of them was the lab I was in. But I never imagined that this tycoon would be Henry. After all, J City and Y City were worlds apart. But just the sight of his back was enough for my heart to recognize him. A jet black suit, a tall and imposing figure. Henry was as handsome as ever. Even standing among a group of leaders, he stood out. Clink. A test tube fell to the floor and shattered. The noise was just loud enough for everyone in the room to hear. They turned to look at me. Seeing the mess on the floor, one of the leaders frowned. Which student is this? How can you be so careless? Clean it up quickly. It was only then that I snapped back to reality. Focused on cleaning up, I forgot to even put on gloves. I squatted down, and just as my hand was about to touch the glass shards, someone strode over, casting a shadow over me. In front of everyone, my hand was grabbed. His voice was as steady as I remembered. Be careful, you'll cut yourself. My heart pounded violently, faster and faster. For some reason, my nose started to sting. I then knew that the feeling hadn't disappeared. It had clearly grown stronger with time and with longing. Henry led me to a seat on the side and then started to clean up the mess himself. Seeing this, a school leader asked tentatively, Henry, do you know this student? Henry nodded and was about to speak when I cut in, Professor, he's my uncle. Henry froze, a flicker of emotion in his eyes. After a long moment, he put on a smile again. Yes, I'm Tia's uncle. Once the leader understood, he waved his hand and made arrangements. Oh, is that so? Well, we're done touring the labs. Why don't you have this student show Henry around the rest of the campus? And just like that, I had no choice but to be alone with Henry. I put on a brave face, acting as if nothing was wrong, and gave Henry a tour, completely avoiding the topic of what happened before. At every stop, I would introduce the place to Henry, just like he had introduced J City to me. But no matter what I said, Henry just looked at me. He only looked at me. His gaze was intense. I couldn't ignore those handsome eyes. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I stopped and asked him fiercely, "Uncle, are you even listening to me? Why do you keep staring at me?" Henry didn't get angry. His eyes curved into a smile. "I'm listening. I'm just seeing if Tia has changed at all. Why does he have to say things that make my heart flutter?" I couldn't help but mutter under my breath, "What's there to change? I'm still the same." I touched my nose, looking away uncomfortably. Henry's eyes dimmed for a moment, and the hand at his side trembled uncontrollably. "Tia, you're avoiding me, aren't you?" His voice was so low. "You hate me, don't you?" Henry looked at me quietly, waiting for my answer. His dark eyes held both hope and fear. For some reason, a dull ache spread through my chest. In my eyes, Henry was supposed to be confident, nonchalant, and sure of everything. He shouldn't be like this. How could I possibly hate him? He should be the one to hate me. But how could I bring up that night when I acted against his will? I couldn't say it. The awkwardness in my heart was too much. I'm just a useless coward. Seeing my silence, something in Henry's eyes shattered. But he didn't want to make things difficult for me. He forced a smile. "If you don't want to talk about it, Tia, then we won't." Henry took a very exquisite women's watch out of his pocket. He reached out to put it on my wrist. "On the way to your school, I saw this watch. I thought it would look good on you, so I bought it." My eyes fell on the watch. Under the sunlight, it was truly beautiful. After Henry left, I closed the curtains and stayed in my dorm, sleeping all day. Suddenly, the dorm room door was kicked open. Light flooded in. My bestie, Ronnie, stood at the door, yelling at the top of her lungs, "I can't take it anymore. What the hell are you two fighting about? Henry goes back looking half dead, and you're not eating or drinking? Like a pair of star-crossed lovers. What's wrong with you two? Did you both forget how to use your words? If there's a problem, just talk it out. What if it's a misunderstanding? Are you two going to be happy only after you've missed your chance?" With that, Ronnie pulled me out of bed. When she saw my face covered in tears, she quickly pulled the covers back over me. She comforted me in a soft voice, I'm sorry, why are you crying? Just talk if you want to, if not, it's okay. I won't ask any more." Sobbing, I recounted the story of me and Henry in bits and pieces. After listening, Ronnie was quiet for a long time. It took her a while to process it. "My God, you actually slept with him. You two move fast. No wonder my uncle was so tight-lipped no matter how much I asked. I thought you weren't into him, and he was too embarrassed to say." I cried even harder. Not into him? Do I even have the right to not be into him? I did that to him, he should be the one to hate me. How could I not be into him? Ronnie said, "Hey, you can relax. I'm 180% sure that even if you two did it for 3 days and 3 nights, my uncle would have been more than willing." My crying stopped abruptly. "What do you mean? Ronnie, are you saying that Henry?" Ronnie looked shocked. "My uncle didn't tell you? He fell for you at first sight. If you so much as beckoned, he would have come running." Now it was my turn to be stunned. "You mean, what happened that night, Henry was willing? I wasn't the only one enjoying it? I didn't do anything wrong to him? And, he fell for me at first sight too?" Ronnie nodded. "Yeah. He's crazy about you. I've never seen my uncle lose control like that. I know him too well. When you left that note and took off, he must have thought you sobered up and regretted it. And since he knew he wasn't drunk and didn't stop it from happening, he thought you would definitely hate him. And you thought he would hate you for it, so you both got stuck in this misunderstanding. After Ronnie finished, I was filled with regret. So, I had wasted all this time with Henry for nothing. And when he finally mustered the courage to come find me, I broke his heart. Realizing this, I couldn't stay in the dorm a second longer. All I wanted now was to get to Henry's side. I grabbed my phone and started running out. As I ran, I opened my contacts to call him. Suddenly, a text message popped up on my phone. It was a notification from my bank about a huge transfer. The sender's note said, "For pursuing you, a voluntary gift." Another message popped up. It was from Henry. "Tia, even if you hate me now, I can't give you up or leave you. I was a coward when I came to see you, and that was my fault. I want to pursue you, and I hope you'll give me another chance." After reading the message, my tears started falling again. I kept running while calling Henry. The moment the call connected, we both spoke at the same time. "I like you. I like you." In a crowded world, the spark began at first sight. A dormant heart, at the moment our eyes met, blossomed with the joy of a sudden encounter. A rose gently kisses the earth. This is the season for that spark to bloom. It is irreplaceable, a trace that cannot be erased even after weathering the storm. And so, to you who have read this far, I wish you this. When you experience love at first sight, have the courage to see it through to the end. Epilogue. Recently, something major happened in the Smiths. Henry, the boy everyone had watched grow up, the iron tree that never bloomed, was finally in love. The entire clan was ecstatic. After so many years of not dating and showing no interest, the family elders, who were starting to worry that Henry might be gay, were finally relieved. Thank goodness, Henry's orientation was normal. Everyone breathed a collective sigh of relief. The girl's name was Tia. Henry had seen her on his social media feed and fell for her at first sight. Upon learning that the girl was beautiful and very popular at school, the members of the Ching clan started running around like ants on a hot pan. They were terrified the little lady would be snatched up by someone else. At this moment, Ronnie cleared her throat, proudly puffed out her chest, and announced, "Tia and I are besties, you know." Everyone looked at her as if they had seen a ray of hope. They all ushered Ronnie to the seat of honor. The Smiths members were all exceptional people, top in their respective fields. Ronnie, who had always been the black sheep of the family, suddenly found herself being looked at with such hope by young and old alike. It was a bit unsettling. She crossed her legs. "She's my bestie, so I know her. The more you chase her, the smaller your chances might be. She likes guys who aren't into her. The best strategy is for her to get interested in you, then you reject her a few times. She'll be even more hooked." Ronnie sized up Henry and nodded. Uncle's looks are not bad. I guess he's barely worthy of my bestie." The Smiths elders finally patted their chests, swelling with pride. Great, he's worthy of the girl." Someone raised their hand and asked, "So, what should we do next?" Ronnie held up a finger. "We have only one method." "What method?" "A thirst trap." Ronnie motioned for everyone to huddle closer. "Okay, here's the plan. We do this, and then a little bit of this." She explained with great enthusiasm, getting more and more excited. The entire family, circled around her, listened intently, booing and awing in agreement. Wow! My goodness, Ronnie's the brilliant one after all. Exactly. And so, when Ronnie video called Tia, everything was planned. How to set the lighting? What angle to use? What clothes should he wear? How could Henry casually appear in the video? Everything was orchestrated by Ronnie. Tia had no idea that the video call she thought was ordinary was, in fact, being closely watched by everyone present. On the other end of the call, at the Smiths reunion, tycoons from various fields seemed to be chatting amongst themselves, but in reality, all ears were perked, listening in with intense concentration. And the image of Tia in her cartoon pajamas, with her messy bun, munching on a watermelon, was seen by the entire family. Tia thought no one saw her looking disheveled. Little did she know, the Smiths were all thinking, so cute, so cute, so cute. As for Henry, who was pretending to talk to someone, his palms were actually sweating profusely from nerves. If the table hadn't been so sturdy, he might have scratched a hole in it. Henry stood rigidly, not knowing what to do with his hands. His good friend stood beside him, quietly cheering him on. Henry, my man, you got this. Don't be nervous, don't be nervous. The girl is watching. Henry's back became even stiffer. But he could hear the sound of his heart pounding loud and clear. His heart was pounding, his blood was rushing. The girl was right there on the other side of the screen. Henry kept giving himself a pep talk. The crush was growing wild. Don't be a wimp, Henry. Right now, everyone is helping you.